It's Karen Tamir here, and welcome. Today I'm going to be creating an art journal page, and I'm going to be creating it in this journal. This is one of the new journals from Michaels that are being sold exclusively at Michaels. It's a canvas art journal book, and it comes with two types of pages. It comes with the canvas page, which is like what I worked on here. And then it also came with some pocket pages that you can insert your own, or maybe, I have it upside down, sorry. And they open up and you just insert your art journal page. If you work, let's say, on paper or on some other medium, so you can do that. And today I'm going to be creating it on the canvas because it's really fun to work on canvas. And this canvas is untreated. There is nothing on it. But the nice thing that you can do is I work with impasto paints, and because they're so thick, you don't really need to prep this as much. I'm not going to be doing a painting. I'm going to be doing mixed media, which is really easy to have it unprepped. So I'm going to separate this. It's so easy to just take out, and then you have it outside of your journal, and you can work on a flat surface. So I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to just have this one, which is the one we're making, as a reference. I'm thinking, though, today to use other colors. I'm always going with blues and greens, so I think to just make it a little bit different, I'm going to be using other colors. Now, just to talk a little bit about the impasto paints, they're acrylic paints, and they're very, very thick, and you can dilute them with a little bit of water to make them a little bit more liquidy. This is the set that comes at Michaels, which comes with the main colors, which is yellow, green, blue, white, red, and black. Not in that order. I think I have them out of order. And I use the blue, the green, and the yellow, and the white to create my page. However, the impasto paints come in a lot of different colors, and all these colors come separately, not in a kit like that, and you can buy them separately also in brick and mortar stores. So for example, colors like these, which are like pinks and purples, and there is this jade color, which is beautiful. I mean, they have different names: raspberry, heather, jade, but I just love turquoise, green, turquoise, purple, and pink. And then there's, of course, black. So I'm not sure. I'm going to kind of play around with things and see where it takes me. I really wanted to use a little bit of the purplish and the blues, and I might even go into this one as well. I really love this cobalt blue. It's beautiful. So I just played around with it. And one of the best ways to play around with it is to have texture in the background, so you can really see how they interact with each other. So the first thing I did is I started gluing some texture in the background. So I used two things. I used a little bit of tape. This is drywall tape, and it comes in a tape, and it's just basically, you can get it at any hardware store. There's two different types. There's one that looks like a punchinella, and there's this one. And I'm going to basically trim it and cut it, and it's a great way to create texture. Now, you could use any type of netting. It is hard, like plastic, kind of like a net. And this one has already the stickiness underneath, so all I'm going to do is just stick it on the background. Then I'm going to take some lace. Now, I think for the original, I might have only used lace, but I just wanted to show you that you can use so many different things. Now, with lace, obviously, it doesn't have that stickiness to it, so you need to add some kind of medium to glue it up. So what I did is I used some gel medium. And 1 minute. Okay, so I'm going to cut different size lace. So what I want to do is I want to have the main longer area of the lace to be longer in the center and shorter as it comes up towards the edges. That way, it creates movement. I also have a little bit of this ribbon. So you can use ribbon, you can use lace, you can use all different things. Let's see what else we have here. There's this one. So it's just really nice to be able to create texture with things. And all you have to do is just glue it with some gel. So I'm just roughly placing the textured lace in different places, and I am covering and kind of overlapping them. And it doesn't really matter if you do that or not. You could just overlap or leave it the same. And then I'm going to glue it more or less to the background. I mean, I'm sure you have lots of lace, and Prima has lots of beautiful lace. I truthfully looked for it because I have some, but I could not find it. I don't know. I have a very messy room right now, and I can't find anything. So this is the reason why I couldn't find the lace. Okay, so I think this is good. I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to put too much. So this is enough for that. And then I'm going to take this soft gel. Now, the Art Basics come in both gloss and matte, and I'm sure you know that. And the one from Michaels, it's the gloss one that comes in the set. I don't mind using either one. I like the soft one to be able to stick the lace onto this. And I'm going to use my silicone brush, which is a very well-used silicone brush, and glue it to the background. Now you could apply straight to the background, or you could just put it on your mat and then apply it. Make sure you seal the lace as well. So it's a good idea to put like the gel on top as well, because that way it really seals it to the background. Now this will be a little bit glossy, but since the impasto paint is not as glossy, it will kind of cover it up. I am going to put some clear gesso as well on top because I want to make sure that it's not as glossy. I don't actually like a lot of gloss. I prefer things to be matte, and I tend to use the matte gel more, but just for these purposes, I wanted to use the ones from Michaels, so that's why I went ahead and used this. But you could use the soft, the matte gel as well. You don't have to use the gloss one. And it's not going to look exactly the same. No two mixed media pages are alike. I try to recreate the same thing, but you don't always have the same materials. You might not stick them in the same order or have the same design or even the same colors. So I like that things are different. I like when my pages turn differently, and that's the way. What I like about art journaling, and I can talk while I'm gluing, is that what I like so much about it is that it really lets me express my emotion in a small piece of art. So doing a canvas is a very large piece of art. I mean, depending on obviously the size, but it's a lot of more work. With an art journal, you can experiment, you can try different things and see if they work and see how they react with each other depending on the mediums. And it's a huge way of being able to test things without having to waste a lot of material or a lot of paper or a lot of lace, because I'm just basically doing it on a small surface area. So what I love about art journaling is, number one, is that you can go ahead and use a small surface and get a lot done and try things and experiment. The other thing I love about art journaling is that it really relaxes me when I work, and creating in general really helps me to relax. So art journaling is almost like a diary. You're actually expressing your emotions through art, and that's basically what we all love to do. So there's a great thing. I actually had a video on my YouTube channel where I spoke about the different reasons why I like art journaling. There were 10 different reasons, and these were only, the ones I mentioned today are only 2 of those reasons, but I just really wanted to express how much I loved art journaling, how much I loved art, and that really helps. And you can go back and see the one that I made about the 10 reasons why I love art or art journaling. So I'm almost done gluing the last bit of it. And you see, I'm really using a generous amount. I'm trying to use as much as I can because I want to make sure that it sticks to the background. You don't want it to start lifting up halfway through. So I really do put a lot, and that's okay. Don't worry. It's better to put more than to take that, not have things sticking, sticking out and coming off your page. Of course, you can always add it a little bit at a time. You don't have to add it all at once, but just to make sure that it all sticks together. So as you can see here, I have the longer part in the middle and then shorter ones going across. So you need to heat set this really well. It's important to heat set this part so you make sure that everything is dry, and it doesn't take that long to it doesn't take that long to dry, especially the soft gel is quite quick. So it's really good to have this way. So as you can see, I mean, I don't have to have it fully dry, but just to make sure that things are not moving. So I sometimes touch it and see if it doesn't come off, then that means it's dry enough that I can put the next medium on. I recently did an art journal page where I did this as well, but instead of using canvas, I stuck the lace on regular watercolor paper. And it turned out just as beautiful and it worked just as well. It's a really great technique for adding texture. And right now it looks weird, but once you add color and make this all uniform, you will really see the difference. And you could use any type of thing. You could use cheesecloth. This is cheesecloth. You could use this to adhere to the page as well. You could use flowers. Basically anything goes. I find the glossy gel a little bit more sticky than the matte one. So that's why sometimes I prefer using the matte over the glossy one, because it takes a little bit longer to, I don't know if it's too dry, but definitely when you touch it, it feels more sticky. For the next step, I want to add some gesso. And where did I put it? Oh, there it is. So this is heavy white gesso. Now you could definitely add clear gesso as well, or black if you're going to use metallic colors. But I opted to use white gesso because I wanted the lace to have an even coat. So basically, you see how here there's pink and there's brown and there's beige and white. So if you put the gesso, you will get everything to look the same. And that's what I wanted to achieve. I wanted everything to look the same. I didn't want it to have different colors. And if you added the clear gesso, you would still have those different colors. So I'm adding a small layer, a thin layer, I meant to say, of the gesso. Now you could definitely cover everything if you want to. So I could cover the whole page with this. And that way you also have it prepped for the impasto paints. However, the impasto paints are so thick that they don't truthfully need a layer underneath. Oh, I find that they don't. It's my opinion about that. But I will do it just so you can see the difference, because it gives it a nice base to everything. So gesso in general could give you a nice base. And Prima sells not only the small tubs like this, but it also sells gesso in the 8-ounce, and some of them even come in 17-ounce jars. So as you may guess, I have a lot of gesso at home, and I end up using it quite often. So I have big jars of it as well. So you see when you cover this, it covers the color, it covers and makes everything even. And the nice thing about gesso, it dries really fast. This gesso is particularly heavy, meaning that it's quite thick. So it gives a really good coverage. You don't usually need to do more than one layer. Unless you're really covering a large space and you miss some places, usually a one layer is enough. It's basically just a primer, a base for everything. And it's really fun to work on a canvas surface. I mean, I do it a lot in big canvases that are stretched, but the canvas itself gives a really nice texture to the background. It has those ridges, so it really looks nice. I'm going to dry this as well, and then we'll add the color. Now, gesso dries really fast. So you'll see, compared to the gel, I barely have to use any heat to dry it. It's basically the edges are almost dry, and then just the center needs to be dry a little bit more, just because there's more in the center. And also the lace is wet. It becomes wet when you add mediums, so it's good to give it a good dry. And it doesn't really matter if you miss some places, because you're going to put the paint on top, so it's not a big deal. So I like to recycle a lot. I like using things from my house and use things that are available to everyone. And lace, cheesecloth, or even tapes are really easy to use for everybody. So look around your house and see what you can find that you could add texture and adhere to your pages. Okay, so for the next step, I'm going to start adding the paints. Now, as I said, I think I'm going to go with a little bit of a different color scheme, but I will show you the two of them. I'm going to do the same thing in both. I just want to show you the technique, not so much the colors. So don't get stuck on the colors, just mainly look at the techniques. I really love using some different colors in my pages. I don't want everything to look the same. So for this, I'm going to be using first this color, and I'm going to add it here because what I want is I want to kind of have almost like a dry brush technique. You want to get those textures first. And I'm going to add all 3 colors here because it's just easier that way. 1 minute. So the blue and the purple. So it will look a little bit different than the other one. And once you have them on your mat, then you're not worried that you're cross-contaminating. You can just go from one till the other and add the layers and add the layers of color. So the nice thing to do is to mix the colors around in the background. You don't want them all to be either in the center or on the sides. You want to kind of move around with the color. I am going in this direction, which is the horizontal direction when I'm applying it. Now I'm going to do the little bit darker color, which is the blue. And always do your dark colors last, only because they are the darkest and it's hard to cover them later on. I love this combination of colors, but now I can go back, and when they start combining together, they look beautiful. And the blues combine with each other and they take a form of their own type thing. Now I'm applying it in the opposite direction. I want to add some movement to my page. This shouldn't be difficult. This is really easy to just basically add color to a background, and it's nice when the colors start mixing. Look at this beautiful mix here of purple and blue. So that's the key to it. And let me add a little bit more of this color because it's kind of missing now in the background. And look how thick they are, how beautiful they start mixing with each other. This is basically a simple way of covering a page once you have the texture. Now another thing you can do, and I'll show you, is that you can add a little bit of water to the background, and that helps blend the colors together. So just by wetting it a little bit, it brings that lightness to the paint. So it makes it a little bit more liquidy, and you can definitely mix it better. So you continue to apply things until you're happy with the results. So I want some more of this color here. And if you want to add more things, but everything is getting too mismatched or too wet, you can dry up. You can dry it up and then add the color again. I think I'm going to be doing that now. It's too mixed already, and I can't get the definition of each color. So all you have to do is basically dry up this layer. Just lightly dry it. It doesn't have to be fully dry. Just dry enough that the colors won't mix with each other. This is a Finnabair texture brush. One side has texture on it that you could create texture by adding it to the background, or you could just paint regularly. Maybe I'll show you how it works in a second. Okay, so here I'll show you how this textured brush works. We can use it here in the corner as well. It looks really cool that way. But here, you can see now the texture. I'm going to turn it around, and you can create really nice texture in the background, right? By adding it. This is cool. Maybe I'll add some. Let's add some more, and some purple maybe. And add some lines. So hold on, I have to move this up a little bit just to show you how cool it is. I'll put all the links to everything. I'm going to upload this video to my YouTube channel, so I'm going to be putting the links to everything as well. And you can also go in the opposite direction, and there's a few different brushes actually. Oh, there's this type, so you can also create texture. So just to show you the different types, it comes in a set of brushes, and it's just basically adding the color and kind of blending it. You want to blend. You want to make sure everything blends together. That's when the colors become really beautiful, when they're blended with each other. So I'm going to bring a little bit more of the purple over here. So you continue playing. Like, this is important. Like, don't stop because you think, oh, it doesn't look as nice. You see me continuing to play, and this is why I just continue until I'm happy. And then I say, okay, I'm stopping now. It's really important to stop only when you're happy. And don't go overboard, but you have to stop when you think you're happy. It's not when others think you're happy, but when you think you're happy. And that's the most important thing. So now I'm happy and we're good. And all I'm going to do now is just dry this up because I want to add a little bit of the white paint. But if you can see here, I'll show you this other one. I added a little bit of white, but only after everything was dry. And I'll show you how I added this. Let me dry this first, and then we'll add that. Okay, so that's good. That's dry. And now I'm going to add a little bit of the white impasto paint. And to do that, I'm going to use the paintbrush again, but this time I'm going to do a dry brush technique. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to put a little bit here, and the technique that I did the lines with is quite simple. It's basically what I wanted to do is I wanted to create a border around my canvas page, and I started just fiddling with it, and it looked really good. So what I started doing is I started applying a dry brush technique to the edges. Now to do this, you need to have your brush really dry, and you need to work really fast. That way, it creates those really nice ridges. And I turn the page around, and I just continue doing that. So first I start with the edges. So it kind of creates a border around my artwork. Now, I'm obsessive with borders. I love creating borders on art journal pages. I talk about this a lot in my videos. I need to frame them. Look how beautiful this is looking with the ridges that I created with the brush. So I need to frame my pages, and the best way to do that is to create a border. Another thing you can do with this white paint is that kind of highlight some of the texture. It will bring those really nice embellished lace to the surface. It brings up that texture, and you're able to see it much better. So between the ridges of the between all the texture that I made with the lace and the texture that I made with the brushes, and then the texture that you have originally on the canvas, it picks up everything. The white picks up all the different textures, and it looks really, really cool. And you can add it everywhere, but really lightly. Like I'm barely touching the surface of the canvas. And I'm also using it with a really dry technique. So the paint has to be super, super dry. The paintbrush has to be super, super dry, and also use very little paint. So all those things together. And look at this is the texture from the tape that I added. Now another way that I did is I actually added kind of these lines. Hold on. And that was just basically painting this way and that way. I just went around and added this. And you can use different paint brushes for that. There's no science to this. But the dry brush technique is known. It's not something new that I invented or anything like that. I just think it adds a lot of texture and a lot of beauty to anything. And there you go. I don't think I need to add much more to this, except for maybe the focal point. But see, as you can see, it turned out very different than the other. Not only in the lines, you see, I added, I think, more lines. I could do that as well, just to show you. I think I added a lot more lines there. But let me just wet the top of the brush and just kind of create the lines. Now, what those lines help with, and I want to explain why I did that, it's because it helps center everything. It actually helps draw your eye towards the center of the page, which is what I wanted to do. It's really important to draw your eye to the middle of the page, to where your focal point is going to be. Okay, so that's basically my background, and now I'm going to work on the focal point. And what I did is, for the focal point, I used these stamped images from one of the stamp sets This is not sure what it's called, but I'll list it below. And I use the stamp set to stamp some images on just a little piece of paper. That's all I did. So I'm just going to add these to the center. Now I didn't stamp the circles, and I will stamp them now. Another thing that I did is I take a little bit of this cool lace. This I got like literally at the dollar store, I think, or something, I'm not sure. It's not really lace. It's some kind of, actually, I'm not even sure I used this one or did I use, yeah, it's fine. I like there's all these fluffy ones. I might want to use some fluffy one instead. Maybe this one is the one that I use because it looks really cool. So my main point of this video is to add texture. It's really important to just have a lot of texture on things, and that really makes everything pop up. Okay, I like that. Perfect. So good. And all I have to do is just basically glue it with some gel. Now I will show you, I might cut some circles as well, but right now I just want to glue this first so it starts drying. So for this one, all you have to do is just, I mean, you could do this on your mat, but I'm just doing it here. This will dry clear, so it's not a big deal if it looks like that. And then I can use the rest of it to just glue this. So there we go. Now these stamps stamp really well, and I want to show you how well they stamp. I'm going to actually stamp the circles here and show you how well they look. Okay, so there's that. And then I'll show you this, how easy it is to stamp with them. So here's my circle stamps. I'll do the two small ones. And hold on, I'm just getting the paper. Okay. So this is really easy. You could even stamp it with your hands, but you don't have to. I have just some archival ink. Any black ink would work. Just make sure that it's dries fast, so that way you can easily, quickly cut it. And what did I do with my? I can't find now my stamping block. So it'll be with my fingers. So I literally grab this with my fingers, and I stamp. And it's perfect, even with my finger. So I'm going to do two big ones. So they're really high quality stamps, I must say. Like the clear stamps, they really, I'm not a good stamper. I actually do a horrible job. But truthfully, they're so easy to stamp that you never make a mistake. And I didn't even put that much pressure on it. So I really like the fact that they're such high quality stamps. And then all you have to do is just cut this. Like you see, because it's dye ink, you can just cut it really quickly. And this already has a saying on it. It says, dare to spread your wings. So you don't even need to put out a sentiment if you don't want to. So you can just, I mean, I could have cut these in advance to save myself from cutting on the show. This is why I did the butterflies. I just never had enough time to cut the circles. But I figured the circles won't take that long to cut. So that's why I added them here. So there's one, and here's the other. And then once you're done, all you have to do is just pop this page back into the journal, and you're done. And it's so quick. So the yarn is from some dollar store. Oh gosh, I don't know. And I got it so many years ago, but I'm sure they have it somewhere. But all you want is, you can do the same effect with some cheesecloth. You don't have to buy this specific yarn. You can do the same effect with cheesecloth and just fray the edges, and you will get that as well. The same exact effect. Okay, so let me glue these a little bit, and I'm just literally going straight from the pot. You could add some gel on top as well. You can add other embellishments. It doesn't have to be butterflies. I just love butterflies, so that's why. And let me just use the leftover from here. And this is already has. So I don't know, I think the smaller one has to go at the edge. Okay, so there we go. So this is it. I mean, how much quicker can this be? It really is fast. Most of the time I was doing, like, besides painting and adding the lace, everything else was really quick and easy. Like, this shouldn't take you more than an hour to do, including the cutting and the gluing and the drying. It really shouldn't take you more than an hour to do it. And then all you do is just pop this back into it. So here's the first one. And here's the second one. So there you go. I mean, you can look how many color combinations you could do. There's so many nice impasto paints. You could combine so many of them together. So there's so many combinations. You could add yellow, red, blue, green, purple, and there's different shades of the colors. So I'm really excited for you guys to try all the different combinations and to try the impasto paints and see how you like them, because they give a really good coverage and you don't have to add a lot of it. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you like my video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends on social media. Please share. It's really important for both Prima and for myself to have everything shared everywhere so people can learn and experiment and just love the products. So thank you so much and have an amazing day. Bye.